You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Dale Pre. You know, like I was saying earlier, no, I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway, welcome back, everybody, to Nothing's Off the Table. We have a guest tonight. I would say special, but that would connotate many things, and he's not wearing his hockey helmet. But anyway, our guest tonight is Matt Currin. Matt, we'll get to you in a minute, so don't say a word yet. Lou, welcome back, brother. I'm going to stop saying welcome back to you because you're pretty much always here. So
I know, and I do have to apologize for missing last week, and you know, for people that go back to the archives, settle in. I'm going to give you a quick story, but the reason to settle in is I'm sure you'll all find common ground here. But so a first child, nephew of mine from Japan, is an exchange student at West Virginia, Morgantown. He was supposed to come back last week on Thursday, meaning I could have made. He decided to show up to Japan without his visa to the States. They're pretty serious there. So while I advised him to fly to Mexico and walk across, and he could still make his timeline, he chose to follow the rules, and of course had to get turned around, go back and get it, come back, which pushed the flight back, causing me to miss and have to pick him up at the airport on Friday. So long story longer, sorry, and happy to be back, Andy.
How dare he? How dare he? Anyway, you know, we've got a great couple shows lined up for you. Tonight being one of them. I'm super happy to have Matt here. Matt, I'm going to brag on you a little bit. Matt's a retired United States Marine Corps aviator. It's a funny joke about that, and a specific reason why I said aviator. But you flew not only CH-46s, but you were also one of the first to fly the Ospreys, correct?
True.
So Ospreys is, you know, I've never been in an Osprey, and I never ever want to get into an Osprey. But anyway,
when I lived on New River, we used to find pieces of them in our backyard.
That's right. That's right.
let me quick tell you the aviator story real quick, and then I'm going to let you dive in. You have a fascinating, powerful story, and I'm so excited for the listeners to be able to hear it. I'm going to try not to get emotional during the telling of your story. I've heard your story I don't know how many times, and every time I hear it, I get choked up a little bit. But the aviator thing. So when I was a second class, I was an E5, and I got stuck. I just got dropped from the recon pipeline. So I was already been a miserable bastard to begin with. But I worked for this lieutenant. She was my department head. She was a nurse corps officer, and she was married to a naval aviator. I think he flew 18s. I don't really remember. It doesn't matter. Well, anyway, he came in one day, and he stuck his head in my office to introduce himself. And I said, "Oh, I hear you're a pilot." And he goes, "No, I'm a naval aviator." I said, Oh, wait a minute. Do you fly planes? He goes, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, get the hell out of my office then, freaking aviator." But anyway, so I always kind of laugh at the audacity and the ego of some of them freaking cats. And I'm proud to say that you're not one of them.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but without further ado, I'm very honored to have you here. And let's just get into it, man. Because it's so... Lou, I didn't tell you anything on purpose. I want you to hear this, and I want to see a genuine reaction. So, Matt, tell us your story.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself just to let everybody know who I am, and then jump into what makes me who I am. That's that
Okay.
story. And
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm from North Carolina, born and raised, Raleigh, North Carolina. Went and played baseball at UNC Greensboro. Met my wife there 8 years. 3 kids. Have a son who's 26, a daughter who's 23. Just started medical school at Georgetown last week, so that's pretty good. And I have a sophomore who's at UNC Chapel Hill, and she and I are actually writing a book. We can kind of touch on that a little later. Know a little bit about that story. Left college, went into the Marine Corps, and became a naval aviator. No, I became a helicopter pilot for the Marine Corps, flying CH-46 Echo and a death, right? So So it's really to this day my favorite helicopter I've ever by far. And so it was good. I went in, flew helicopters, ended up getting medically retired out of the Marine Corps 2007, stayed in the V-22 Osprey program, went and became an air medical pilot, flew 6 years as an air medical pilot, 659 patient flights, watched the first responders do amazing things, watch people lose their life, watch some of these first responders, alive. So really, really awesome. Something I'm proud of. Right place, right time. Became the helicopter pilot for Team Penske, NASCAR, and Indy. Still am that today. I fly the helicopter for those two teams, and then I also fly Gulfstream 280 for Penske, which is a jet, which is pretty cool. They let a helicopter pilot fly a jet. Uh, that's pretty fun. But I say all that, that's my side gig. And do that as a hobby, flying those things. And what I really do is I have an online platform. It's called Convene Communities, and it's based around. I believe that we all have a story. We all have something to share. Things that we've gone through in life, either good things or bad things, that kind of lead us to what our passion. And it's incumbent on us to share that stuff with others for the good of others. And I truly believe that. And so my story. Wow, let's talk about that. So I was a 46 driver out of Marine Corps Air Station, New River, HMM 305, great squadron, great group of people, love them all to this day. So it was July 9th, 2001, and we were going out to do routine training actually to go down on the New River there, and we were going to practice shipboard landings on what was called the LHA deck on the New River. So I was a night systems instructor. That means that I taught people how to fly on the goggles, and we had, and my aircraft had a crew of five. We had myself. I was teaching lieutenant how to fly, at the LHA deck that night. We had a main crew chief, instructor crew Sergeant Salah. He was the instructor in the back. He was teaching the new guy how to fly night vision goggles at the LHA deck. We had an aerial observer, Gunny Collins, who was back in the back there, sitting in the other window, looking out and clearing us. So that was who was in my aircraft. The other aircraft had a crew of five as well. And so as we got ready to go, we briefed the flight, and I went down to sign for the aircraft. We call it signing for the book. Basically, that's you're getting the key. You're going to get cut loose, ready to go and go fly. I walked into maintenance control, and I saw Sergeant Beatty. Let me explain who Sergeant Beatty is. So today I got to HMN 365, and I'm wearing my alphas, the green uniform, and here I am. I'm Captain Currin, and get out of the car. This young corporal gets out of his car, and he's wearing his alphas. Salutes me and back, and we just start shooting the shit, walking up and talking. And Clark Beatty is his. So what Clark and I didn't really know is that at that time we were getting ready to be patched at the hip. I walked in and I went over to the XO to check in. He walked in, he went to Sergeant Major to check in. We walked out of that. We were combat partners. He was my combat crew. So what did that mean? That meant that we were trained together. We do everything, almost everything that we did, the majority of our flights together. We'd really get to know each other. So hit combat, we knew how each other worked, right? A little bit about Clark is he had been a former Army tank guy. And so he was a little bit older. He's actually older than I was by a couple years at the time. So truly respected him because he had life perspective, more so than me. And I also was told one time, and I took it to heart when I was in flight school, chiefs can be your best friend, be your worst enemy. They don't like you if you're a jackass to them. Might go out to the aircraft, sir, we can't go fly, it's broke. And 2 hours afterwards, it's fixed magically. If they don't like you, they're not going to fly with you. So you treat everybody with respect. And so Clark and I became the best of friends. When I tell you the best of friends, we were the best of friends. We grew up together. Operation Allied Force in Kosovo, when WTI out in Mott's. He was at WTI as my crew chief as well, going through WTI. So we did everything. So we were supposed to be on this flight this night together. And I walked in and I saw him and I was like, "Hey, bro, give me the book." And he goes, "Well, hey, we're not flying together now. They had just changed it a couple hours prior. we're not flying together now, but we're together tomorrow. All right, good to go. I'll see you tomorrow night. Um, and so we go and we're ready to take off. So I'm the lead aircraft. He's at the Dash 2 aircraft now. So we take off and we take off single ship. We had been delayed a little bit because there had been weather that had come through. And so we were delayed, thunderstorms. And so we departed single ship. I went down there, got to the LHA deck first. I'm bouncing. They get down there. They're bouncing. And lo and behold, in my aircraft, we had a aircraft issue, right? And so in that aircraft issue, we had landed at the front of the LHA deck and we were talking about it. And we were talking about what was going on. So I said to the gunny in the back that, or the gunny said to me, to us, the whole crew, he said, hey, they're on downwind. Go. Everybody's head turns in the back. Now I'm on night vision goggles. So if you've never been on night vision goggles, picks up on light. And I'm seeing these flashes going on because there's still lightning in, right? So I'm seeing this lightning flashes in goggles, but it's not really close to us anymore. Um, and so the gunny says they're on downwind. I'm like, good to go. We continue talking about the situation. Remember seeing this kind of bright flash, didn't think nothing of it. And we kept talking. Finally, I said, hey, gunny, can I lift? He goes, sir, did they call departing? I'm like, no, they didn't call departing. So Sergeant Salah was who had switched with Clark Beatty. He had just got to the squadron from a 46 squadron from Okinawa. So that's why he was flying with me. So Clark wanted him to get to know me. We get inside, so he's inside the aircraft and he goes, what the fuck you mean, gunny? Aircraft just don't disappear. Sticks his head out the window. He goes, sir, there are rocks in this water. And I was like, no. He goes, sir, come up now. They're in the water. So I lift up, kick the tail, my searchlight on. There they are. It looked like the best way I can explain. Everybody's seen aircraft that have crashed and there's debris field. That's what it looked like. It was a debris field in the water that went all the way from what we call the 90 position. So about 50, 60 yards out, all the way up to the edge of the LHA deck. It was all like up to it. But I could see the helicopter sticking up out of the water. We could see the helicopter still out of the water. Lift up, we kick the tail, we pull over, going around, we're looking for them. In the back, they're sitting there saying, hey, pull into a hover, we'll jump out. Well, if I can see the helicopter sitting out of the water, probably not the best idea to let them jump out. There's also a thing called the waterfall effect. And so what that means is you go up and you get down into water, that rotor wash is gonna pull water up off the surface and it's gonna go down. So you're gonna think that you're climbing and you're gonna take power out. Take that power out, you're gonna settle right into the water with it. So not such a good idea. So that was kind of hard because they were like, hey, sir, pull up, let us jump out. And I'm like, no, we're not gonna do that. So we were going back and forth. So what do we do? We got to get our peers out of the water. See a helmet pop up. We see another helmet pop up. We see a helmet, somebody climbing around on the aircraft. So we know we got 2 survivors in there, but there's 5 total in the aircraft. Go and we drop a raft. And that raft goes off because nobody's holding on to the raft. We see the 2 helmets come together, and we drop another raft. So sitting there and we're like, okay, what do we do now? And so we inside the aircraft, we're talking about all our options. We go land back on the LHA deck in the gunny in the water, right? Go out there, get the survivors and bring them back because they're just standing in the water. They're not getting in the raft. They're just standing there holding on to the raft. The reality is they were beat up pretty bad. They had injuries. They couldn't even physically get into the raft. So we send the gunny down. He goes down the embankment, goes into the water. And we're still like, okay, what do we do? I'm facing the water. So we're looking at the wreckage. And I'm like, well, what do we do? At the time we had started the on-scene commander. I was the on-scene commander. So we're talking to everybody. We're getting all the people coming. And so we have what's called Pedro up out of Cherry Point. That's the rescue helicopter. They're still 20 minutes away when we first called. I mean, this felt like we were on the accident scene for a freaking hour. We were on there for minutes, as this was going, how fast it was taking. Where we were on the Camp Lejeune complex, it was still taking a long time for, crash fire rescue to get to us and EMS to get to us. And so, look, so we're sitting there trying to think of everything we can do. So, Gunny's in the water. He gives us a call on the radio. We know we have two survivors. So, we're starting to figure out what's going on. We just don't know where the other people are. Don't know what's going on. So over the horizon comes Pedro. Here comes Pedro. Okay, this is good. Pedro's here. I'll get the diver in the water, see if we can figure something. So Pedro pulls up into a hover, pull up into the hover. Diver goes down. Diver's down less than 3 minutes. Diver comes back up alone, pull over in front of us. So their helicopter's facing our helicopter. My crew chief's on the Sergeant Salah's on the long cord. And what ends up happening is the diver gets out, comes over there, you see him talking. And then Sergeant Salah said, or take me home. I want to go home. They're all dead. I want to go home. I mean, I remember those words just like he's saying them to me right now. Sir, take me home. I want to go home. They're all dead. I want to go home. And that was it. You know, we had the two survivors. Two survivors were the two pilots somehow. Three crew chiefs in the back died. And Sergeant Beatty died. And I was supposed to fly with Sergeant Beatty the next night. And Sergeant Beatty was not just Sergeant Beatty. I could give a crap about rank. Sergeant Beatty was one of my best friends. He's the guy that I grew up with, the guy that we did everything together. He knew my moves. I knew his moves. He knew if I said something with an inflected voice, he knew exactly what I was, thinking. Didn't, we knew each other. And so, yeah, we went home and we took off from the New River. I turned over on-scene commander to some other aircraft and first responders that were there, and we flew home. And what was crazy, we flew up the New River, dead calm, dead calm. And we didn't say one word outside of me making radio calls, to get us back on the airfield. And when we got back on the airfield, um, we landed and there were people waiting for us. But let me back up about I couldn't believe how quiet it was. I'm sitting here looking out, and although you had the helicopter sounds going on, it was dead silent inside the helicopter. Nobody said anything. And it was ironic to me because I just remember looking down the water, and the water was glass.
Hmm.
But back behind me was chaos. Back behind me, we just lost three Marines, you know? And so when we land, they're waiting on us. So I get out of the helicopter, somebody meets me. We have five people there, and each of us get assigned somebody. Take us in. We weren't at the helicopter that crashed, but this is how it works, right? They're going to take us in. They got to get our statements. They separate us. We have to go pee in a cup, you know? And so at the time, we lived on base housing, and my wife and I lived on base housing, had two kids at the time. And I remember, it was 11 o'clock, midnight. I can't remember what it was, but, and this is important, man. This is shows how it affects families. It's not just you, the veteran or the military man or woman, it's the family at the same time. And so called my wife. They let me have one phone call, like one phone call. And I called my wife, and she said to me, and I think it's 2001. Well, and nobody was just running around with your cell phone at the time, Um, so I call, the phone rings at the house. She answers, and this is what she says to me. She's like, "Why are you calling me?" She goes, "Matt, why are you calling me?" Well, I'm going to be home tomorrow. She goes, "What happened?" She goes, "Matt, somebody die." That's the first words out of her mouth. Somebody die. She knew that for me to be calling her, something bad had happened. She knew that I would not be calling her and telling her I was coming home tomorrow unless something tragic had happened. So at first she was like, "Did somebody die, Matt? Who died?" And I was like, well, and I can't say anything because I got somebody standing like 1 foot from me listening to everything that I'm saying. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm okay." And she goes, "Matt, who died? I need to know who died." I can't say anything to her. I can't say a word, they're listening. And they start telling me to hang up the phone, tell her you'll be on tomorrow, hang up the phone. And I just said, hey, I love you. I'll be home tomorrow. Do you know that my wife, we lived in base housing, she walked out of the house, walked the whole neighborhood, looking and counting cars, looking at my squadron mates' houses to see who was there and who wasn't there. And the sad thing is that there were some cars missing because as soon as we activated the plan, some of the guys, my friend Dave Sadler from right down the street, she's seeing his house and his car's not there because he's the safety officer. So he's in the squadron now, so she goes the whole night until I get home. I ended up getting home about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, thinking that he doesn't know. He doesn't know if somebody else's, you know, husband, wife, or who. She has no idea. So yeah. So go home, take a shower, crawl into bed. This holds me. I cry. I just cry.
Did you sleep at all?
I did. Eventually fell asleep. You know, eventually felt, but not for long because I woke up, thinking I got to go figure out what happened. I got to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Your mind's spinning at the time. You're thinking, what we're thinking at the time. My whole crew is that we failed them. Right? We failed. We failed these three Marines. We should
Survivor's
have
guilt.
gotten them out. We should have saved their lives. And to be honest with you, is because of that, they could tell we were asking the questions. I got called into the CO's office with the doc, and they read the autopsy report. And the message was, pull your crew together and let them know that you did everything that you could. Um, Everybody died instantly. The three in the back, nobody suffered, and that was important for us to know because if they would have suffered in the back, we would have felt like we failed. Um, so the autopsy report was not a pretty autopsy report from what happened, but it was at least we knew that we didn't fail them. We ended up going out on the LHA deck. I have a picture of it, but we went and listened, and we went and sat there and we watched them pull the helicopter out of the water. And that was, you got a gunny, you got a captain, you got a gunny, you got a sergeant falling, because that's our guys right there. That's our peer. So we found out what happened. We knew what happened. We knew exactly what happened because the pilot survived. So find out story behind what happened. But what it was is that we were flying night vision goggles. And they were coming in. We're at 300 feet, 80 knots. So we're already pretty low as it is when it comes to aviation. They come around from 300 feet, 80 knots, and they go down to 200 feet, 60 knots, and 150 50, and then on final to land. Well, what happened is the 46 above the left seat guy where the anti-collision lights were. The lights are right here to him. We would attach a straw to the anti-collision lights. I don't know if y'all did that in the shitter, but 53, but we would attach that straw to it so you could know to turn off the anti-collision light. Well, the reason why is because if literally the light would bounce off the ship and come back and you would see it in your goggles, but it would also, you got a guy who's calling you in LSC and he's calling you in and he's got goggles on too. So you're blinding him if you don't turn the collision lights on. But at the time, we had not changed all of our helicopters over yet in the Marine Corps. 46 is from having a red cockpit dome light to night vision goggle NVG compatible lighting. That transition was still going on. So when the pilot in the right seat, he was a shorter guy, he would take his knee board off, he'd reach over and he'd turn the anti-collision lights off because he couldn't reach it. He went forward and turned the red cockpit dome light on. So the goggles do what we call blooming out. They off. It doesn't mean you can't fly. You can still fly the aircraft. In fact, you brief it, level the wing, center the ball, pull power, climb away from the ground. We'll talk about it in the air. But it's right here. Guy. He's the one at the controls. Everybody's trying to get the lights off. And so what ended up happening is Clark was in the back. He was on his gunner's belt. He told the crew chief in the window, help them get the light off. I'm moving up. He unhooks to move up. Crew chief in the window unhooks and he goes in the tunnel to turn the light off. And then there's somebody, the air observer guy, is sitting over in the window. Well, they were all unhooked. Guy was in the window. They all again died on impact. But what happened is the guy lowered the power. The guy flying lowered the power, and nobody's flying the helicopter. So when I speak, I call the topic when I'm speaking about this. I call it 12 seconds that change everything. Because for me, that 12 seconds that went on inside that helicopter, that they estimate was 12 seconds, um, changed my life. It just changed everything. Um, yeah. So yeah, we lost 3 Marines. Now, our part is this for me. Found out a year and a half prior, another squadron had a mishap, right? Had a mishap that had the same causal factor that turned on the red cockpit dome light on. They kept it a secret. They didn't tell anybody outside of their squadron. Do you know how fast a crew chief could go and change a single toggle switch to a dual toggle switch? Because that was the problem. You could turn it on, but to turn the switch off, you had to pull it and put it in the opposite. You had a dual toggle switch, you could beat it with the knee board, beat it with the knee board because we tried and it would never turn on. And if that red cockpit dome light had never turned on, we'd have never lost this. So it was a senseless mishap, 3 lives. And it's just, it every day of my life, it affects me every day. So that's my story.
I'm,
That day, when we were sitting on that LHA deck, I prayed to God that I would make a difference by helping people not make mistakes over and over, and that I would not let Clark Beatty's death and the other 2 Marines, their deaths, go unnoticed. That's what I do. That's what I'm dedicated to. That mission, right?
I can tell you, I've heard this story several times now from you, and I feel the raw emotion from you the same every time you tell it. It's
Yeah.
obvious that you're reliving it when you tell it.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to you, man. My heart goes out to the families of those that were lost.
Yeah.
Matt, so during your story, you touch on it, and I want to talk a little bit more about it because I don't think people understand, and like you said, everybody has a story, I have a few similar ones, but people don't understand when these incidents happen. There is a process, and that process will be executed prior to any grieving.
Yeah.
It
Right.
is very sterile, and it
Yeah.
is very unemotional, and it is incapable of caring about how you feel at the time,
Sure.
because that process must be executed.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to go through the process. And I don't necessarily fault that process because you got to get the facts straight and you got to do it like right away. You got to get the details and the facts so you know what's going on. I mean, I think our squadron and the way it was handled at the time was actually pretty good. We rolled through it, and then we, starting the next day, they had people on us helping us. And this is 2001. It's even better, I would say now, that process. But we came from I'm just gonna be honest with you. We came from a freaking squared away squadron at the time. This was out of nowhere for us. And but I'll also say never. I've lost. Okay, and I don't mean this to sound callous or anything, but I've lost multiple friends. Seen other people that I've lost in the military. I've never seen any other mishap or any other loss that still to this day impacts so many people. It starts on July 8th and goes all the way through July 9th. The text, the emails, the messaging, the post on social media, people going to Clark's grave every July 9th, to tip one back. He had such an impact, and those guys had such an impact on this squadron. It's amazing. It's who he was, it's how it was. But to your point, Yeah, when it happens, man, it's by the book. It's by the freaking book, and it's freaking raw. The whole
I
damn thing is raw.
I advocated after having a different scenario but similar sort of structure. Um, you're so exhausted, emotionally, physically. You don't realize how physically exhausted
Yeah,
you are until
right.
everything's over. Like, you're so tense,
Yeah,
everything is just exhausted. And what I said to the sergeant major after my situation was just somebody to help me, just
yeah,
somebody who could have thought, because
sure.
I couldn't even think, and they
Yeah,
were asking me for things that I understood took precedent.
yeah,
Like these things, like, you have to give your drug sample.
yeah,
These things have to be done. Those things have to be ruled out. But somebody who could have been there to say, like, yeah, okay, now pee in this cup.
yeah,
It was the small things that I just couldn't. It was, things were so overwhelming, and now I'm exhausted. I said I just would have loved to have had help.
yeah,
And like I said, I think, like you agree, like you're saying,
yeah.
as more of these instances occurred, they've gotten better. But boy, for the few of us that were there in the beginning,
Oh yeah.
and I think that adds to how you remember the situation.
The
Well, I
mind,
do remember. I do remember being pissed off. Like, why the hell am I peeing in a cup? It wasn't my damn aircraft. Why you go all
right.
over me about being in this cup? Frustrating. Go ahead.
The mind can only take so much before it
Sure,
shuts down
absolutely.
in a traumatic event like that. Um, and I don't want to cheapen any of the deaths or take anything away from the 20 years we had at war. But let's be honest, this was peacetime still.
This was peacetime. Yeah.
So we weren't used to
Training.
taking the casualties, and so
Oh
that
yeah.
hits you even harder.
Yeah, it's July 9th of 2001. We didn't know 9/11 was going to happen, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is peacetime. And then when you get hit with that, it didn't need to happen.
Mhm.
That's what just baffles my mind is that you're talking about a mechanical thing. Yes, that was human error. Yes, that was human error that caused the mishap. Lower the wing, send the ball, pull power, climb away from the deck. You know, but the red cockpit dome light should have never got turned on,
Right.
and that could have been avoided if people would have just spoke up in the other squadron. Not, it's a systematic thing that goes on, not just in that, not just in uh, that squadron in those times, but it's everywhere, all over the freaking country. It's in hospitals, it's in aviation, it's in corporation, it's in relationships, marriage. I mean, it's everywhere. If we would just talk about things and share our stories about things that we're going through, maybe things wouldn't happen.
If there was only a platform out there,
Only platform. That's right.
you like that
Yeah.
segue?
That's a good segue. Yeah, that is a good segue. Yeah, like I said, I dedicated everything to it. I mean, even when I was in the Marine Corps, I like literally I went and I would speak at this. I would get pulled into. I became a decision making, so to speak, expert. I talked about the process of decision making and crew resource management and team communications and all that. So I would speak at different safety stand downs. I would speak wherever they would let me speak. When I got to the V-22, I started a training program for the V-22. And then I got medically retired. And when I got medically retired, I didn't stop. I stayed with the V, started doing this out in the corporate world. I'd get pulled out and speak in different places. And I always believe that, I was sitting in a restaurant with a guy, a mentor of mine, and I told him, I said, I want to create and I was thinking that I want to create a website where people can share their lessons, for the good of others. Because that again, the other squadron didn't share it. And I said, we're talking about, and I said, he was a pilot, former pilot, too, as well. And I said, often what ends up happening, let's say that, the three of us are in an aircraft together and we're flying, we do some stupid shit, we're going to before we get out of that aircraft, we're going to look at each other and say, okay, what just happened in that aircraft stays in that aircraft. We're not talking about how stupid we were, how we just tried to go kill ourselves, and we would keep that stuff a secret. But that's actually the wrong answer, because the right answer, if we something goes wrong and we do something stupid or something happens with the aircraft, the right thing to do is go share that story with others so they don't go out and do the same thing. And I see this all the time, like I said, in corporate aviation and aviation everywhere, and corporate business still to this day. But
It-
the reality of it is like as I would go out and speak about this, I just would gain momentum, and people would come up and they would want to talk to me about
let me
not
interrupt you
only,
for a quick second
yeah,
because it's important what you just said. We were joking in the beginning when I told the story about the naval aviator and the ego, right? But the ego is such an important factor.
that's
The
what you're talking
ego,
about.
the ego is what kept them from reporting that incident.
Correct.
So,
Absolutely. It's so stupid that like, and again, I want to emphasize it's not just aviation, but
right,
it's you can go across the board for everything. When we do some stupid stuff or some bad things happen, no, we don't want to share our dirt. We don't want to put our dirt out there because it's embarrassing. Because what you just said, the ego is not going to let us put it out there, right? And that's the wrong answer. The
right.
wrong answer is to put it out there. Life is not easy. Is it easy?
Hell
Life
no.
just always no. Life is not easy. Life comes with, go ahead.
Yeah, oh, I was gonna say, I'm always asking in the Chiefs mess, when they say, I can't believe this guy lied to me. I would sit in the Chiefs like, well, when was the last time we rewarded honesty?
Yeah.
I mean, I have two choices. You know, I
Yeah.
tell the truth and I get screwed, or I could lie and hope you don't know anything,
One of the
because I'm
things,
gonna get screwed anyway.
yeah, one of the things, like I say, this applies to everybody, and I'll segue to this as we're getting over to the team. But one of the things we haven't talked about is I have a degree in counseling. And so I have this thing that I talk about all the time. And it's with females, but it's really for males. It's the damned if you do, damned if you don't. And you see this a lot of time in relationships. See, this was where males screw up all the time. And it's because they got this wife over here going like this, not picking on the wives because it could be the husband.
Sure.
But you think to yourself, and early in my marriage, I was like this. You think to yourself, oh man, she's pissed. She's going to get pissed. So I better just tell her this story, tell her this lie, because you think, well, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. My wife, a stupid example I use, but it's so true. My wife would call me and say, "Where you at?" And I'd be like, "I'm almost there." Hell no, I'm still 15 minutes away. But I'm sitting there telling her I'm almost there,
Right.
because I'm trying to get away with it. And then I pull in and she's like, "Where were you really?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's still, and I'm getting my ass chewed either way. So I'm
What
damned
had
if I do
happened
that."
was,
Yeah, what had happened was, but that's a lot of people do that. A lot of people just lie because
Yeah.
of our pride and because,
Well, and we've created a system, particularly in the military. I had a mentor tell me one time. They said, he's like, all these people look all over here and all these things. He goes, the biggest problem in the Navy is you can't get promoted with an evaluation that says you maintained a working system.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't. They're not going to do anything for you.
yeah,
right.
I came here. I let it work.
yeah,
We adhered to the rules. Everybody went home.
yeah,
That guy is going nowhere.
yeah, right,
And we've
Right.
created this system where I have to be either first or one of the founding few, because I have to set myself apart.
yeah,
And people, I think, lose track of the basics and the focus. The simple things. You take care of the people, the work takes care of itself.
yeah.
And they lose
That's
sight
right.
of those things
For sure.
in the race that we've created.
For sure.
So over time, what I've created is a platform where anybody and everybody can share their experiences,
That's
their
awesome.
life lessons. And so I used to just do it business to business, going to corporation, hospitals, all of that. But what Convene does is allow people to take it and run in any direction that. So we have communities that are parenting. Have one young adults. We have a lady on there who really she does incredible. She does the best. Teaches veterans, just veterans, because she's got a passion for veterans, how to file for Social Security and disability benefits. Um, and it's amazing if you look at Lisa. What's cool about that is she used to work at Social Security, and then she became a disabled person, was on Social Security, and then now, now is back working, making money through Convene, so she doesn't have to be on Security and disability benefits. So she teaches people how to do that. But she's married to a Marine. Her son was a Marine, and she has a passion for veterans and all. So, and you notice I said Marines because all about,
Here we go.
So yeah, so the platform's pretty cool. The platform lets people take it and run in any direction that they want. And I think that it's pretty good. It's the idea behind it is, again, we all have something to share. We can all share it for the good of others, and that's what people do with inside of the platform. It's awesome. Good.
What I like about it is that you get out of it what you put into it. So
Yeah.
take that how you want to. You could be.
Yeah, you can grow. You can grow special groups. You can grow within it. But here's one of the cool things. So in the Marine Corps, I don't know, if y'all are around units called your Annie Mouse. Annie Mouse is right. That was our reporting something that was wrong anonymously. Out of Annie Mouse's.
Oh no, I never heard that.
Right?
Must be a damn air.
Called him a rat and kicked his butt.
Right?
So all right. So inside of Convene, there's a lot of anonymity. Right, and anonymity is important. We have discussion boards. We have things we call them. I don't call them a training or a course. I call them an experience. That's what I call it. Look, y'all understand this. The format of training is all scenario-based training. All scenario-based training. That's how we learn in life. Put yourself in a situation, and we go through the process, and we learn from other people. Yes. Hey, it's like if we sat there, we all have kids, right? We were talking about that before. We all have kids. So you're sitting around as three dads, and I said to you guys, hey, having this thing going on with my son, if you're in this situation, how would you handle it? Where are your answers going?
Your experience.
Yeah, your experience. So that's what I call the training mechanism out of being an experience, because we learn through experience. But when people answer the experience, they answer anonymously. They'll be much more open and honest. When people go into discussion boards, they have the ability to answer as themselves or answer anonymously. So it goes back to what you said. What you said, Doc, goes back to pride. If you have to put yourself out there and your big face and your big profiles on there, you're talking about your failure as a parent or something, let's just say, or you feel like you failed as a parent, you're going to come out. Am I going to come out as the creator founder of Convene? Am I going to say, hey, I'm having this situation with my son, Braden Currin, and I want to know how all of you would handle it? Because people would be going, what the hell is going on?
By the way, your son is a spitting image of a young Dennis Miller.
Yeah,
the comedian.
People have said that for
him. Great comedian. I love Dennis Miller.
But that's why pride is one of the deadly sins.
Yeah,
it's a killer.
Well, yeah.
Has its own month.
Yeah,
if I could get rid of that damn, that's my kids right there. There's my son.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I see.
Totally.
iPhone update. My daughter and my two daughters. So you dudes quit
looking. Beautiful family. Beautiful family. I've met.
Yeah.
I've had the fortune to meet them.
Watch them speak. Yeah, they came up on the stage with this event called Free, and they spoke about Convene. It was a great moment for me.
So I want to go into the pretend world real quick. I want to pretend like we have people watching and listening.
Yeah. Dude, I was watching.
With that being said, yeah, it's probably you.
So I can't multitask. I have to trust Andy. I have no idea. I don't know any comment.
But let's just pretend that we have people listening, and what can Convene Communities do for them? Why should they go to Convene Communities?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Everybody will come up and say, "Well, why not a Facebook? Why not a
why a Facebook?"
Yeah.
Well, the reality of it is what Convene does for is it gives you a more intimate. Right? It gives you a more closed-in space. It's also Convene communities, right? The word convene means to come together in communities. And so I've been Convene communities since 2004. Look, that's kind of a buzzword for community. We create communities. Well, hell, I've been creating communities forever, right? So coming together in communities. So for example, a parenting. That one has.
It's funny you bring that up because, I've been creating my own little communities all around the world for 32 years, if you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You're the reason Americans have to get a visa to go to Europe now.
But in the community setting, right? It's if you're looking for somebody, if you're looking for stuff on Facebook, for example, parenting, you're every damn. If you're looking
Yes.
for something about parenting inside of Convene, it's just parenting. It's all driven towards parenting. The other thing is you have a lot of people out there doing great things about parenting. Well, what's one group might do, not what the other group. So many different people have different expertise places. So, the idea that we're working through doing is creating these interests, bringing people together. And again, inside of the community aspect of it, it really is to help people out. For example, we have a military and veteran community. There's absolutely no freaking reason that we don't have, all military veterans having a one-stop shop to support each other in, because that's what we should be doing. So to your point, Lou, that you had earlier, I look, the reality of it is peer-to-peer counseling, peer-to-peer. I have a degree in counseling, right? I do not believe that I can go and counsel in some areas, but you know what? Pretty freaking good at sitting there and working with veterans and working with first responders, because I've been a veteran for with a story, and I have been a first responder and have been there and done that too. So I can sit in a group, I can sit in there with people, and I can work through that, because I will tell my story. It is true and authentic and raw. And what I do when I tell my story is I break down the barriers to begin with. And if you've been there and you've done that and you've walked it and you've lost friends, you know that I understand, because I've been there and gone. So peer-to-peer counseling and these types of things are so freaking important. I don't think throwing it out there, but I think it's very hard for people to go and relate to or not veterans. I think it's hard for those veteran counselors to relate to us, because they have never been there. They have never lost a friend like we've lost our friend.
Well, I've said it many, many times in the past. I will continue to say it, that I feel peer-to-peer counseling is way more effective than a let's just call it a mental health provider client relationship.
It is, and there's a place for that,
Sure.
for that, but it's not. You need to be doing both. We need to be lifting each other up. We need to be supporting each other. You know,
Yeah.
we
Peer to
need to
peer
be able to
too.
look at each other and say, "Hey, man, I've been there where you are, and I've overcome it." I have a feeling that a lot of veterans, saying this in the nicest way I can, we need to be there to support and pull our veterans up, because don't they stay down in the bottom? They stay down they don't think they themselves up.
And let's
You
just
know,
face it,
sometimes they need somebody to say, "Strap your damn boots on and let's go."
right.
That's what I was going to point about. The other thing about peer to peer that I find sometimes when I'm talking to veterans, they're like, come on now, it wasn't like that."
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now let's. I'm with you. I understand, but now
So,
they helped us a lot here, and you know what I mean, and
so
getting
we had
people
this.
back on the positive aspects of their service as well.
So we were doing this call. We were doing this group call, like a group podcast. We were calling it Smoking, and it was where we all just got on in a group, and we basically like standing around the fire pit, the smoke pit, whatever, and we're smoking and joking. Right, that's a term that we military men and women like to use. So what it turned into after a couple of good sessions, turned into is on, and it was almost like a bitch session, a wine session. How you know, it was very negative.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget, good friend of mine, Army veteran, right hand man in Convene, Eugene Brown. We're on this call, and this gentleman gets on the call, and it almost sounded like we were at an AA meeting.
Huh.
And what I mean by that, I'll use my name as Matt. This guy gets on the call and he goes, "Hi, my name is Matt." Like everybody went, "Hi, Matt." And he said, "And I'm a two-time suicide survivor." And I remember thinking to myself, looking around like, was that? because he said it with pride.
Well, he's a failure.
But that's what I mean. It's like, with that, it's like, yeah, he's a failure. He failed
I'm
too.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm with you. But the point is like, why are you saying it with pride?
Right.
Why are you on this call saying I'm suicide survivor? And it was the tone that it came out of his mouth that was shocking to me and Eugene. Eugene drew the same conclusion because we got off that call and I called him and he said, I already know what you're going to say before you say it. What was that? And it was like, we shouldn't take pride in that.
Right.
And it's not that we don't want to pull people through. People have gone through the time. They have almost committed suicide, but to say it on there like it was norm. That's what it was. It was a normal. And it was shocking.
Hey, what school did you get your degree from? Your
I
counseling
went to
degree?
this school called Liberty University, and another good friend of mine is going to start his degree, getting his counseling degree from Liberty University here
Oh, do
real
tell.
soon.
Do tell.
Yeah, he's this great guy. Love the guy to death. But
Now I
he's
know
getting
you're
ready to
full of
start.
shit.
Yeah, well, I'm lying, but I'm just being honest. But my friend Doc is getting ready to get the same degree from Liberty University. Let's go. Give it up.
I get that. So, Matt, if somebody wants more information about Convene Communities or just wants to reach out and talk to you about your story, how can they find you?
Yeah, go to convenecommunities.com. The place, convenecommunities.com. That's the main website, but that'll get you there. If you have an idea, you have a nonprofit or an idea, or you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or a content creator, you want to take your podcast that you're doing and put it up in the community, because that's a podcast. Hey, it's a place that we're growing. We're always looking for people that have great ideas, a passion about doing things. Doc, you came and videoed Convene 23, our speaking event. We have more speaking events coming up where people tell their stories, and they can do that, with a group inside of Convene. It's all about helping others. That's what makes us different. Back to your point, what makes us different is we're here to help others. That's really what it is. It is a platform with a purpose.
Since you brought up the conference, what I was pleasantly surprised about is that the people that were there were all from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, but the passion was there.
Yeah. And so people have a story, right? You're helping Mark Ullman, this guy Mark Ullman, pull out his story right now with the videos you've done for him. People have a story. They just don't know what to do with that story, right? There's nothing wrong with taking your passion. You just have to be guided through how you do that. We do it. Hey, and one other thing. Yeah, so convenecommunities.com. You can find ways to contact me on that. That's important. You can reach out to me, Matthew Currin at convenecommunities.com. That's two. But I want to talk about two other quick things real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
But that's this organization that I didn't do anything as a veteran. Nothing as a veteran. I medically retired in 2007, and I went to the camp finally in 2000, and it was called the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy.
Oh.
And another friend of mine, this other dude, went through it because I had him go through it. Became an umpire, right? But this thing, it was an amazing thing, and there's a spinoff from that I'll talk to here in just a second. But it literally helped change me because one, I played college baseball, but I became an umpire through that. But it was the excuse is baseball. The excuse, my first time being around veterans. Now I want to tell you about a key moment real quick. Is one of the things you're getting ready to go to Tucson to umpire in a tournament. I went to umpire in a tournament in Charleston, South Carolina. And the day that we were there to do that tournament was July 8th, 9th, and 10th. So I was in Charleston on July 9th. July 9th, to me, I'm normally a freaking train wreck. Like my anniversary, right? But guess what? First July 9th that I did not cry. You know why I didn't cry?
You're surrounded by
That
your
was my
brothers. Yeah.
surrounded by my brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's it. Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy. Go check that out. The other is my roommate looked at me that night and he said, "Hey," said, "You ever heard of this organization called Heroes to Heroes?" And so Heroes to Heroes takes veterans to Israel, and you start. It's a 10-day trip. Start in Tel Aviv. You go up to the Golan Heights. You go down to the Sea of Galilee. Get baptized in the Jordan. Come through Jerusalem. Go down to the Dead Sea, and then back up, and you leave. It's a journey. But I put in for it. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let me go do that, And I ended up doing that, and it was life altering. Life altering. It was one of the most amazing trips that I ever did. Now, I just want to put a plug because if you're a veteran who's really in a bad way, really hurting, really needing some spiritual healing, go to Heroes and take that trip. I'm getting ready to go back this next year as a team lead. So I've gone from a participant to a team lead. But yeah, plug into these resources out there if you're a veteran, because it's so important.
That is an amazing segue because we just so happen to have a segment on this show, and it's veterans helping veterans. And I think I take a lot of pride in this, and I think Lou's going to go over something with us. But the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy is something we've highlighted. The Heroes for Heroes is something that I'm very interested in, so I'm going to talk to you about that offline. But anyway, it's that time, Lou. What do you got for us?
1 second here because I lost the.
He was so enthralled in my talking that
you know what happened is I lost the web link. What happened? But I'll tell you what. Before I do veterans helping veterans, there was one thing I was trying to squeeze in about your Convene committees. The difference between where you are and where Facebook is, and I think is an important distinction to make to people is that you're having an adult conversation as well.
Yes.
There's nobody in there. In Facebook, it's too easy for non-adults to creep in, where you start arguing over, what street the bakery was really on instead of what the concept of what happened in the bakery is what we're talking about. And then they, and they're picking you apart over little things. These are adult conversations for adults. And that's important. And I think, providing that space, I think that's why you're there instead of these other places where it's too easy for people to come in and not be like an adult. But I did want to stick that out there. I found what I saw to be adult oriented, and I like that.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. All right. So quick, veterans helping veterans. Andy, thanks so much. We're going to look at the Marine Corps League, a organization near and dear to my heart. I'm my local junior vice commandant for the local chapter here, and I did want to promote our website, which is the Three Rivers Leatherneck, and I'll give it to you the exact one here. 3 riversmcl.com. That's number 3 riversmcl.com. Our webmaster links to all the national news as well as some of the local events that go on here in our Pittsburgh region. But you can get all the information you want off the Marine Corps League main website as well. They do have membership requirements. You do have to be a Marine or a Navy corpsman or chaplain who was stationed with Marines. They also offer affiliate membership as well. So there is an avenue for non-Marine Corps or sailors who are not assigned but may have worked with in other aspects. And part of their charter requirement to be a Marine Corps League chapter, you have to have a program of veterans helping veterans. So check out your local Marine Corps League or VFW. But today we're highlighting the Marine Corps League, and you can check out number 3 riversmcl.com for more information. That's all I got.
Excellent. Matt, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I know we talk a lot all the time offline and everything, but I feel it's so important to get your story out there to as many people as possible. It's not going to happen on this show because nobody watches, but but at least Lou got to hear it,
I did. It's great.
Yeah. Right.
It's a powerful story, man. I started getting choked up again, and I knew what was coming, and it's just I can't even imagine what you go through. But you have to admit that talking about it is healing as well.
Oh, talking about it is everything. Like I said, being being with other veterans, talking about it. That's why I talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why I speak about it. Why I go into corporations, talk about it, go into different settings and talk about it. The more you talk about it, that's true.
So
Hey,
if you're
don't leave when
listening,
we say goodbye, but thanks for coming, Matt.
yes,
That's right.
Don't leave.
if you are looking for some peer-to-peer counseling, if you're downloading this podcast off of the many platforms, you can always reach out to myself. You can reach out to Matt, and I'm going to go ahead and speak for Lou and say you can reach out to him as well.
Sure.
You're not alone. That's the most important thing to remember. And there's people that have gone through what you've gone through. It may not be exactly the same, but they've gone through what you've gone through. And, talking about it is key. But, Matt, again, brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. Stick around. We'll talk again in the room. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Comment, click like below.
Don't ever say that again. Oh, and I mean,
if I get to 500,000 likes, I'll wear my underwear on the outside.
I mean, ever say that again. And with that being said,